Day of repetition. Jessica Frewer was not your average high school girl. The best way to describe her would be spoiled rotten. Born to an extremely wealthy family, both her doting father and his fat wallet were wrapped around her finger from a very young age. Jessica got everything and anything she ever wanted, including the attention of all her high school peers, from the nerds and geeks to the cheerleaders and jocks. Except for one. Jessica had her eyes on a young man her age at her school, but he had eyes for another. Sarah Drew, another girl Jessica's age, already in a relationship with a young man. No matter what Jessica did, she could not get the attention and, more importantly, the affection of the young man. This infuriated her to no end, and thus is the cause of what comes next to effect. Jessica woke up one morning, feeling unusually stiff, but never gave it a second thought. She got out of bed, washed, got dressed, and walked to the kitchen to get some breakfast. As she walked into the kitchen, she heard the news on the TV. Happening last night, 2 teenage girls lost their lives, one in a stabbing, another being run over by a semi on the Melvin Freeway. Jessica ran out of the house into her car on her way to school. She briefly wondered if anyone she knew was in that accident, but like her stiffness this morning, she paid it no further mind. Driving from home, she took the side road, the traffic fine, and leaving her without any inconveniences. Arriving at school, Jessica met up with her clique and started her day. Her first 3 classes were the same. The usual repetitive noise of teachers giving the same lectures over and over did little for Jessica's enthusiasm. She had heard it all before, and if any trouble came with her grades, or her potential to graduate, a little beating of her eyelashes to her father would fix it. What little good mood she was in was quickly swept away during lunch, when she saw him with Sarah. The 2 of them eating side by side infuriated Jessica to the point of breaking. And that is when she had the idea. The idea to humiliate and scare Sarah to the point where she would abandon everyone, including him. Jessica went about giving her friends and some of the jocks present the idea. The jocks volunteered that they would distract the young man, while Sarah would be entertained by Jessica and her friends. Jessica approached Sarah, feigning friendship and asking her if she would be available tonight for a party Jessica would hold. It was no secret that Sarah was hated by Jessica, but it was also well known that Sarah wanted to be friends with Jessica, regardless of the one-sided hate. Such was the gentle nature of Sarah that she immediately accepted the invite without a second thought. The rest of the school day proceeded without much change. The same thing happened in the same classes that happened the day before. After school, Jessica went to work on her plan. She and her friends would take Sarah out drinking and get her intoxicated, knowing that Sarah wouldn't say no, to jeopardize the chance of being friends with Jessica. Passed out, Jessica would then take photos of the drunken Sarah in various poses and clothing, and then let the entire school see the photos, embarrassing Sarah to the point of becoming a shut-in for the rest of her life. At least, that was how the plan was supposed to go. When driving to her home late at night, with Sarah in tow, Jessica came upon an unusual sight. On the freeway there was a group of cars parked to the side, with a group of men circled around another. It was the jocks, tormenting Sarah's boyfriend. Angry that Jessica only had eyes for him, the group of jocks decided to teach him a lesson that would go too far. Seeing this, Sarah pleaded with Jessica to pull over and help her stop this, which Jessica was more than willing to oblige, only wanting Sarah's boyfriend distracted, not hurt. Stopping the car and rushing to the group, Sarah and Jessica saw one of the jocks pull out a switchblade and move to Sarah's boyfriend, intending to hurt him. But the blade never reached him. It never touched him. The blade went deep into Sarah's own chest, piercing her heart. Time stopped for everyone present, as they all took in what happened. Seeing the blade, Sarah moved between the jock and her boyfriend. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. All they could take in was the blade sliding out, stained red, and Sarah falling to the ground, lifeless. It was too much for Jessica. Everything went wrong all at once. She only wanted to humiliate Sarah, not kill her. She only wanted what Sarah had. She never wanted murder. She never wanted to become an accomplice to murder. All the money her father had could not clean up the blood that she was partially responsible for. So she ran. She didn't even realize she was running. She wasn't in full control of her actions. All she wanted to do was get away, to put as much distance as she could between herself and what had happened. But something snapped her out of her trance. Something loud and bright woke her up. She looked to her left and saw headlights. She heard a horn, and then darkness. Jessica woke up one morning, feeling unusually stiff, but never gave it a second thought. She got out of bed, washed, got dressed, and walked to the kitchen to get some breakfast. As she walked into the kitchen, she heard the news on the TV. Happening last night, 2 teenage girls lost their lives, one in a stabbing, another being run over by a semi on the Melvin Freeway. For those who die are given the choice to move on, but only if one has a sense to accept what has happened. More often than not, those with material wealth cannot accept what has happened, and so they linger, reliving the final moments that lead up to their deaths.